Hello, hello. Welcome in. It is Sunday evening here as I'm coming in for our week ahead card pulls. And we have a couple other decks out here tonight because this week we have the sun moving from watery Cancer into fiery, bold Leo. Yay! Happy birthday to all my fellow Leos out there. So we're going to pull a Queen of the Sun oracle card for the sun moving into Leo this week. And we also have a beautiful Leo new moon coming in. So we're going to do a Queen of the Moon pull as well. Now, I've already been tuning in for the new moon empowerment reading. So I've actually already chosen the cards for that special reading. So it's a surprise what cards came up for that. Of course, if you're with me for the empowerment pack this month, that is already working its way towards you. I'll be finishing out those messages and getting that reading out this week ahead of the new moon. If you would like to join us, we have one of each of these cards already on the altar there and the cards that have come up for that spread. So do check out in the link if you would like to join for the new moon empowerment reading this week. So that means we're going to have one-of-a-kind card pulls here for our week ahead from these two decks, and of course the Astral Mermaid Tarot for our 5-card spread. And I'm just going to bring in a little of that moon magic, the aura spray here, for wishes, answers, healing, and guidance. So I'll talk a little bit about the incoming new moon when I do the astrological weather for this week. We just have a few things to chat about there, and we're going to get into our spread. So the first thing I'll do is shuffle up our Queen of the Sun oracle deck so we can choose that Leo season card that's going to come forward for that. And I'm recording this tonight on the Sharecast, on the Empowerment Sharecast, and I'm working my way towards figuring out the best way to do perhaps a live collective card pull on Instagram and then share that video, of course, in the Sharecast on Facebook, etc. Just didn't have that all together for tonight. So if you are seeing this in one of my social media spaces, I am thinking about doing that, where I will just pull these cards live out there and maybe have an opportunity to connect, to mention about, if you would like, a personal card pull this week. I will be doing those over on the Empowerment Sharecast on the other side of our week ahead messages here. So you can just comment, or reach out to me in whatever way works for you. And I will get to you this week with a personal card pull as well. So let's see what's coming up here from Queen of the Sun for this switch from Cancer to Leo. It has been quite a Cancer season. And as we're finishing it out, just really allowing ourselves to flow. We've been riding the waves, welcoming them in all month long. Yes, a lot of emotion, a lot of feels, a lot of things churned up, and in some cases, some muck, some sludge, some sediment, things that have been brought up to the surface that we have been wading through this month and this season, that is all culminating here. And, I'd like to think that it's, has been serving its purpose for us to clear out, cleanse, and prepare for this opportunity for us to step into our power, to shine, for more play, for more bravery, courageous, bold, standing in our essence of self and I am, which is what Leo will be bringing forward for us this coming season. So let's see, on that note, what's coming through the Queen of the Sun. Let's see, there we go. Ooh, progression, your year. This is card 43, so it's giving us more of the 7. We had double 7s last week. Of course, we're still in the 7th month, and that energy has been coming forward in many ways. This is giving us this sense of progression. I love that because, I said I wasn't going to tell you what came up for the new moon empowerment reading, but it's interesting, the contrast between this and that. So I will definitely be factoring that in when I channel the messages for that reading. Very curious to see what this has to say about your year and this frequency of 7. So we'll see about that when we get into the messages. So we've got that Queen of the Sun, now let's just pull the Queen of the Moon now. The new moon, of course, is on Thursday this week, July 24th, and depending on where you are in the world, times will vary. But that is coming up here on the other end of the week. So we tune in now to the Queen of the Moon for a Leo new moon guide that's coming through here from the moon then. So let's see. That one flung out, but I think that was growth, card 5, but I wasn't ready. Let's set our intention here. So we are looking for an overarching energy coming through from the Queen of the Moon for the new moon in Leo. One card, please. One card. I knew it. I said it. If it's meant to be, it's coming out. And look at that. The same card. I tried to stuff it back. I said I wasn't ready. I want to choose it on my terms. Ready or not, here we grow. It's amazing. This card has such a history. I have a history with this card. And it really does feel like... It feels like, we're in the nest. And I always say that this blue planet here, like whether that is, of course, the moon, the earth, however you see it, but I'm getting some Neptunian vibes, especially with, like I said, all these 7s that have been coming through. Of course, Neptune is currently retrograde, and we have been feeling those effects since July 3rd when it stationed retrograde with the water events on the planet, whether we're talking about extreme flooding, if we're talking about drought, if we're talking about this, deep emotions and all of the feels and of course, too, dreams and the energy of those things all coming forward. But again, it's all serving in a way that we see this beautiful image of the roots of the tree just sort of clinging. It reminds me of like the climbing vines, that are growing from all of that. And even just look at this is the new mat that I brought out for the moon. So this is actually where I did the new moon card pulls as well. So there's definitely a lot of energy tuning into this week here in this space as it was already infused with all the new moon intentions. But here, the pocket watch again too. Timing. It's time, divine time. And of course, last week we started off with the Wheel of Fortune, which is all about the wheel turning and the changing of seasons, chapters, all of it. So this will be very interesting to tune into for our messages with this new moon in Leo. So we've got that coming in here for sure. And that number 5 as well. Oh my goodness. Again, trying not to spoil. That number is very prominent in our new moon in Leo reading that's coming up this week. So the frequency of 5, of transition, of the in-between, of change, of chaos, of confusion, being in those states. So we will pull all that in when we talk about this in just a bit. Now, let's get our beautiful Astral Mermaid Tarot out here to once again ask for some insight into this week. As we go, starting with Monday, which represents kicking off the week and sort of starting and setting that tone. So that's going to be Monday's card coming in here. Let's see, Monday's card. Ooh, 9 of Earth, 9 of Pentacles. She's beautiful. So I love this energy of, really being in that place of having been self-made in creating the beauty and the abundance that's all around you. And, whatever is washing up here on the shores, there is this sense of growing great abundance from all of it. And she really is a central piece to honoring the fact that, you have created the life that you have, where you are in this moment, all of the blessings, all of the abundance that surrounds you. And even if the 5 tells us we're no longer where we once were, but we're not yet where we wish to be. So we may look around and feel like, the garden isn't done. I'm still waiting for the blooms. I'm still waiting for all this abundance that's coming. And yet, we'll see that where it says, all of the things that you have now, you once were wishing and hoping and praying for. So there's this sense of, just really getting our bearings on recognizing all of the things that we have already manifested in our life, all of the abundance, all of the blessings, and the opportunity for us to use that to attract even more. So getting that coming in, a nice energy though to begin the week with that feels very grounding and helping us to navigate, these coming energies. So let's see, Tuesday represents a potential block or challenge this week. So let's see what we have coming up there for Tuesday. Okay. Ooh, we've got the Lovers coming in, the Gemini energy of card 6, the major arcana card of choice. So relationships once again. And we're going to talk about some of the energies that are going on over these first 2 days of the week, July 21st, July 22nd, which is Tuesday. Mars conjunct the South Node. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in the energetic weather, but the block or challenge is kind of coming from that space. So we'll talk about that when we get to that in just a few moments. And then Wednesday, we have a midweek blessing. And now the sun will officially have moved into Leo somewhere between Tuesday evening into Wednesday this day. So let's just see what blessings it brings. What's coming in with that sun moving into fiery Leo. Ooh, my other, sister from another mister. We've got 9 of Earth and Queen of Earth. Very similar energy of really being established and having been, there's definitely a very divine feminine energy here of like the self-made woman, the self-made, the beauty of, being in that yin state of allowing yourself to receive as much as you are striving to go out and to create and to bring in and to support and all of the things that went into creating both of these beautiful backdrops that we see them proudly sitting on. That's pretty cool to have both the 9 of Earth and the Queen of Earth showing up for this week. So we'll talk about that. And that feels really good. In the midst of all the water and the fire, we have this earth energy coming in as well. So then Thursday, new moon in Leo is going to bring us how we are growing. So how are we growing, as we got the growth card for this day, for this lunation. So how are we growing this month? How have we grown through Cancer season, and how may we expect to grow through Leo season as well? So let's just see what wants to come up there for new moon Thursday. Ooh, okay, fellas, as well. So now we have this masculine energy, the counterpart of the Queen of Earth, the King of Earth, the embodiment of the pentacles, of the tangible, material, safety, security, earth energy, the base, the root chakra, can be our family lines, our legacies, just so much. But that is super powerful to have these two sitting back to back here for this blessing and the growth that's coming forward here. I have not seen him yet. I can't wait to read about these gorgeous purple flowers now to go with the gorgeous red tulips that we have here. Because she's come up a couple times this month, but I hadn't seen the King of Earth. So let's get ready to see what comes in with that one. And then finally, Friday is going to wrap it all up. So let's just see what's coming in for Friday. Wrapping up our week and really getting ready to wind down this month of July, which is wild. You will have a crossover week next week as well. And then we'll be kicking into high gear with August, which is wild. And that's going to be, not only is it my birthday month, but it's also the anniversary of Grow in the Flow. We're celebrating 5 years this year coming up in August. So I'm very excited to do some fun things and get that new altar space and intuitively selected decks and all the things for us to tune in for that month. So that will be coming up. Let's just see what's rounding out this week. All right, well, we've got 10 of air. It's the 10 of swords, which we're seeing a lot of activity going on here over the waters. Now, this is very interesting, the way that this is depicted. This is another card I haven't seen yet in this deck this month, but multiples of things coming in right now about this literal reflection of earth events and things that have been sort of churning up on the earth. And I'm not even up on the latest, but I understand that there are a number of active volcanoes, and many of them, I think at least 2 that I've heard of, are underwater. There's a lot of earth event things that are kind of stirring and churning and creating waves and creating the potential for this energy. And the other thing I was feeling here, which is really beautiful, is this coming up for air. After this Cancer season, after all of this water, all of this emotion, all of these feels we're like drowning in, coming up for air, and also the heart chakra being illuminated here. So we will definitely see what the Astral Mermaid has to say about the beautiful depiction that we see here. But there's a lot of collective applicability that I see symbolized in this card. So very curious to see what we get from that. So that's all coming up here over on our Empowerment Sharecast, of course, my free space. So do check that out if you're not there already. But thank you so much for all of your support. We will now roll into our energetic weather for this week coming in, a few things to highlight, and then we'll get into these intuitive messages. So hope to see you over there. Sending you all much love. Let's take a look. All right, let's get things started with some energetic weather for this week. And we jump right in here at the top of the week, July 21st and 22nd, Monday, Tuesday, with Mars conjunct the South Node. So Mars will align with the South Node in Virgo, which may trigger events from the Virgo blood moon eclipse that we experienced back in March. So we're going to take a little time machine moment back to March of this year, and just to give you a little refresher on that blood moon eclipse in Virgo was March 14th, and this was, in fact, one of the most powerful astrological events of the year. So it was quite significant. The blood moon eclipse was all about fast tracking our timeline and bringing us closer to closing a chapter in our lives. Sometimes the closing of this chapter can be welcomed, but other times we may struggle to let go. Now, because our timeline is sped up, we may not be feeling ready or equipped to handle what comes our way, and this can create difficulties. So it's always worthwhile remembering that eclipses put us where we need to be. So even if we can't see it just yet, and remember, this was the energy back in March, so we're already on the other side of that. And as we move forward, eclipses bring in sweeping transformative change, and typically in this 6-month window of time. So we're talking about March, we're tuning in now, July 21st through 22nd, down the road from whatever was churned up, stirred up, whatever timelines were being fast-tracked. If you're feeling this already and know exactly what's been going on, this is where it could trigger some events around those themes, around those aspects that were coming up for us back in March. So, it's important for us to remember that eclipses do bring transformative change that's always needed. So ultimately, we end up where we need to be, even if we can't see it, right? So now maybe we do have that awareness, coming down so many months past when everything was stirred up there with that blood moon eclipse. But being that it fell in the sign of Virgo, this is where we may have noticed some issues coming up in relation to health or day-to-day projects or routines. We also may have been feeling challenged to listen to our inner wisdom and to trust our intuition, even if we weren't receiving support. Well, we're talking about that in the past tense because this is the energy that we've been moving through and working with. So now, things could just get reheated a little bit here with this alignment coming in. So just wanting to give you a little guidance there. And again, if you were with me for the Empowerment Pack way back in March, and of course we had the blood moon eclipse reading, always happy to help point you to where your personal card pulls and guidance was for that, to kind of refresh us on what you had going on, as well as the full reading I did at the time for that as well. So if you're a part of that and would like that, please feel free to reach out. So now, as I mentioned, July 22nd, the sun is in Leo. Whoop, whoop. Happy birthday to all the fellow Leos. The sun moves into the fire sign of Leo, and this is bringing an end to watery Cancer season. So with the sun in Leo, we may be feeling more playful and excited to try new things. Leo season is our time to shine bright and feel confident in who we are and where we are going. So definitely a time for you to explore your playful side, to connect in with your inner child, to really bold, courageous moves, seeking out your joy like it's your job, and just shine. So beautiful energy coming in. And as I said, we're going to dig into that a little more with our Queen of the Sun card coming right up. Before we get there, a little bit about this Leo new moon coming in on July 24th. So the Leo new moon arrives here Thursday, bringing that fiery energy of play. This is a bright new moon that we can use to channel energy in the direction of our choosing. Now, interesting, because we do have the Lovers coming up here as the card of choice, and it's our potential block or challenge. So we'll feel into that energy, what's coming in with that. And then along with this new moon, Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, the planet of transformation, is very active under this new moon. So that's indicating that it may bring some changes or shifts. When Pluto and the moon get together, we also tend to feel hidden and unexpressed emotions rising to the surface to be looked at. Now, cue that 10 of air card. My goodness. I mean, I know you can't see it close up here, but when we talk about that Friday card, which culminates this whole week on the other side of this new moon in Leo, it is quite powerful. Literally like those water, what are they called? Those little tornado funnels, like coming up from the water and rising up and shining on that heart chakra. So very powerful, very compelling. Things coming up for us to look at. And so, Pluto's presence here can also bring up power struggles or highlight where we're feeling displaced or taken advantage of in our lives. So pay attention to what the universe brings up for you. Chances are something will have to shift. This is all very much in alignment with all these energies, just like, that blood moon eclipse in Virgo back in March could have brought sweeping transformation and change. We're tuning in this week when we're dipping back into that with Mars conjunct the South Node at the top of the week. And then on the other end of the week, this Leo new moon with Pluto, bringing in some of these things that are coming up from the recesses, needing to be expressed, transmuted, cleared, addressed in some way. And again, I know it can feel like I'd really rather not have to deal with that. And yet there is a perspective to be had that recognizes that, yes, let's get it out, pull it out. Let's get it all to the surface so that we can do a grand, clean sweep. Get that board nice and clear so that we can begin to set up for a whole new game, a whole new adventure on the other side of that wheel turning. So beautiful energies, interesting energies, powerful energies, and I think really definitely opportunity for things on the collective, on the world stage as well, with some of these things that are getting churned up. So, we'll see what comes through now in the cards. Let's take a look at that beautiful Queen of the Sun card progression to talk a little about the Sun in Leo. All right, let's check out this beautiful Queen of the Sun oracle message of progression, and it is speaking to your year. So again, card 43, bringing in the vibration of 7 and a mantra that says, there is a powerful force within me that attracts what I need. And it's talking about setting intentions for the year ahead by releasing stagnancy and getting clear on what do you want. There's so much coming up right now about you as your most authentic self, your truest self. Once we have stripped away all of these layers of the small self, the ego self, of these different patterns and behaviors and programming that we've picked up along the way, that is not a true reflection of who we are and what we truly want. And so again, like I say, it's bittersweet, but like bring it on, because we want to release and strip away all of that so that we can get to this beautiful space of clarity around what we truly want. So now it talks about how what we know from solar cycles is that there is a time that is more restful and a time with big action, and both are needed for progression. So Cooper is going nuts over here, so sorry for the barking for a moment, but he is enthusiastically supporting this message. With the cycles that the solar cycles show us is that there's a time that's more restful and a time with big action, and that both are needed for progression. No one can operate on full speed or full stress with full effort or full push for too long, lest they get physically and mentally burnt out. Similarly, we get sluggish and stagnant if we don't focus at least some of our time on progression, on movement, and on looking forward. There is no health in extremes. So this is bringing us into that equilibrium. And I can tell you from our Queen of the Moon card that we'll be exploring, we would add growth to this in terms of, if we don't focus some of our time on progression, on movement, on looking forward, on growth, right? So, anything in extremes cannot be sustained, is the message we're getting there. Now, we live in a time where sleep disorders are rife, where people are connected to social media or electronics all the time. And there's this strange expectation that we should be, quote, available to others at all times. This is not how humans were designed. We were designed to be in sync with the flowful cycles of nature. These cycles of the seasons, the sun, the moon, the tides, rest and action, right? So we are meant to progress, to grow, and to flow. And to do this, we need to be self-aware of what we desire, what we might need to leave behind, and even what we might need to sacrifice. And we choose one thing over another. We focus, right? We hone in. We prioritize, perhaps. So once we understand our desires, we can be clear about our focus there and begin to plan for our own growth. Now, should this card come up as it has here, it's time to get more serious about your focus and plan. It's time to get your intentions down and begin to power up the energies you need to receive and attract and go get what experiences are exciting or useful to you. So that's funny, because I was definitely picking up on the Virgo energy there with this getting serious and having a plan and buckling down, all while we're talking about this being the Queen of the Sun for the Leo Sun, which is telling us to play and to have fun and all of this. So yes, everything in balance. Also, though, this focus, and that definitely touched on a huge, I know this was coming up for me just last week, and it's definitely like pet peeve number 177 of mine. I just made that number up, but this expectation that we're instantly accessible, available, and on the hook to respond right away, just because as we develop technology and we have this 24/7, bigger, better, faster, more, and that puts a tremendous amount of pressure to the point that a lot of people are just checking out, from one extreme to the other. I know for me, I just get to, if I receive, let's say, a text message that's like really long, it can be kind of overwhelming to respond, because it's like, wow, okay, there's a lot packed in there in that instant message. And then what happens is it just kind of falls off for me. Like it just falls off my radar because it's overwhelming. It gets put aside, so there's just this aspect of, or we may receive a message from someone and this whole, well, they can see that we read it or we left them unread, and all of this silliness that was created here now in the times that we're living in, that I think as we take our power back, as we step into our power, it is about creating better guidelines, boundaries, parameters that work for us when it comes to those things, and to break out of any mold of expectation that would suggest otherwise. So that's just another little piece of the message I'm picking up on, definitely when it comes to standing in our power and connecting in with this Leo sun energy that we are embarking on this week. So let's take a look now at our spread, see what's kicking off for the week, and we will make our way to the Queen of the Moon on the other end as well. All right, we are kicking off our tarot messages for the collective this week with our Monday card, the 9 of Earth, Pentacles, energy coming up in here with the frequency of the number 9. And as I mentioned in the card pulls, a lot of parallels and similarities I'm touching on here between our midweek blessing and this overlighting energy coming in this week. So consulting here with the Astral Mermaid, the 9 of Earth says, look at you being fanned and living in luxury. And so you should be. You have worked hard to get where you are. Soak all that up. Swim in the glory that you created. So again, and regardless of what your garden actually looks like right now, right? Because I get that it can be like, okay, there's nobody fanning me. No one's feeding me grapes. We're talking about, again, stepping into a space of gratitude and celebration of all the things that we do have, that we've created. This is about being self-made, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. And this energy of and wanting more of that, shifting my focus to, I mentioned this the other day. I was saying, that whole phrase of like, fake it until you make it. And I didn't finish. The other end of that is, I like face it until you make it. We're not faking it. We're not implying that we feel we're in the lap of luxury when clearly that may not be our reality in terms of the ultimate where we wish to be. Because again, we're riding that 5 frequency of like, hey, we're no longer where we once were, but we're not yet where we wish to be. And so there's this energy of, again, having this, gratitude, not just, gratitude to the universe, and also, for ourselves, for the things that we have created in our lives, and the abundance and the making the most of facing it until we're making it, because it's a process that we're moving through. And so it says, you live in an abundance of beauty, stability, and wealth that you manifested yourself. Take a moment to show gratitude for the life you have and all the blessings within it. You have worked, learned, and have grown, and it shows. Now you are reaping the benefits of patience, positivity, and personal power. Use this wealth to create long-term financial stability for yourself. You are self-made, independent, and abundantly successful. Again, whether or not you would say that passes the sniff test for you, right? Is that true? That is where we wish to be. And so I'm going to be operating from that energy every moment that I can, because I know that the law of attraction sends out that bat signal to the universe that tells it exactly what it is that we wish to see more of. So I want my energy to be focused on gratitude, abundance, of manifestation, of blessings, of sharing, all of that beautiful energy. So I love that that's sort of setting the tone for us. Oh, that's great. I did just see that there is someone fanning a little green arm there. That's great. So yeah, there's this energy of being in all of that abundance and allowing yourself, maybe pampering and spoiling yourself a little bit too, if you can this week. If there's a way you can treat yourself to an extra cup of coffee, or maybe something special for you, or, whatever that is for you, because we have two of these cards this week that are perpetuating that. So I'm really feeling that message as well. But we'll talk more about it when we get to our midweek blessing. But let's take a look at our one major arcana card this week for our potential block or challenge this week with Tuesday's energy. All right, Tuesday is bringing in a potential block or challenge this week through the Lovers, through the energy of choice. And this as above, so below, we're taking a look here at what is coming in through this significant energy on Tuesday. So now the Lovers says, your choice is either to do it or not do it. The situation is presenting itself to you as a mirror of self, allowing the soul to learn more and dive deeper into your soul contract. Life is all about choices. Yeah, every minute of every day, we're making choices. We're navigating cause and effect, and it's not meant to intimidate us or overwhelm us or, put us into analysis paralysis about making a right choice or a wrong choice. It is about getting into alignment with, again, that internal truth detector, that sense of self, like we were talking about in that progression card, that when we strip away all of the expectations and the weight of perhaps what we think other people would have us do or what's expected of us, because we could be making choices from a completely inauthentic place based on smaller selves, aspects of us who are still holding up and maintaining, that perspective of what we're supposed to do or expected to do or something of that nature is what I'm feeling there. But if we tune into the challenged position of this card, it's saying, and here's a key word that we're tuning into here this week, growth. Growth comes in learning to adapt and merge with another soul. Are your choices aligned with your higher purpose? Yeah, this is what we're saying, right? Are you growing together as one, or are you constantly self-sabotaging? Is it time to reevaluate what it is you want in life? Whatever you are telling yourself will be the truth of it. Stand back and look at the bigger picture. Live in truth and love yourself enough to honor your light. Draw back from what no longer serves you. Is one person growing at a faster speed and outgrowth is happening? Look deeper into your belief system and that of the partnership. Where is there an imbalance? Get to the root of the struggle. Now, of course, the Lovers does depict a masculine and feminine energy here, and this duality of, two and partner. And yes, this can speak to romantic relationships, partnerships, friendships, dynamics, some type of relationship between you and other, which also includes your relationship with things, with aspects of yourself. Again, we're doing a lot of talking lately about our true self, our small self, ego self, all these different aspects that whatever you're looking at in comparison is what is coming up here. So it doesn't necessarily have to reflect a partnership and a relationship with another person, but certainly can, as well as your relationship with other things, circumstances, aspects. Now, we get a neutrality prompt here. So we're coming into this space of neutrality between these extremes. And the message says, choices can be difficult. Step into the energy of what if? What if the choice was taken away from you? What would that look like for you? What if the choice was pushed onto you, forcing you to choose, almost like you didn't actually have a choice? I know about that. What would the pressure feel like to you? What does walking away feel like? What does staying feel like? Try and see it from all angles. Yeah, I call that a non-choice choice. When we always have a choice, but we could be feeling ourselves pushed into something where it's as if we don't even have a choice at all. Perhaps it's an obvious choice. And like for what I'll share here from my perspective, and I've just been like living out textbook the energies this month. It's just wild. And I was sharing the other week about my iron deficiency anemia and kind of coming around again to needing the infusions that are often very helpful for me when I'm needing this boost. And long story short, I'm in the midst of those now, but found out that there's been some changes that the insurance company have made around the options that are available to me. What I previously have received that works well, that it requires me to go for 2 infusions. I'm now required first to try, I'll say it's a generic, but also a lighter dose that's spread out over 5 infusions. So I was kind of put into a position in these last couple of days where I had to choose. Do I want to push back on those 5 infusions and ask for an appeal and ask for maybe a different choice, but then have to wait 15 days? And there's all these, specifics that I am tapping into. This is what I mean by this what is at odds here for you? What is feeling challenged and unbalanced may not be just another person. It can be even an aspect of self to speak up, to ask questions, to push back, to, make the most aligned decision for yourself, even when it feels as if, well, what kind of a choice is that? So navigating all of that, and it can be very tricky. And I think that, again, we have a lot of earth energy here, really all around this, of course, because we have earth, and earth coming in with this air energy of Gemini and the air energy of this final card of the week that has a lot to say as well. So this energy of the air is speaking to our minds, our thoughts, our beliefs, the way we express ourselves, all of that energy. I'm getting a text message about my infusion as I speak. So bing. Infusion number 2 of 5. So there you go. So nonetheless, I digress. Definitely feeling, again, this is a major arcana card, significant energy. So if you are finding that this is speaking to you in terms of choices, non-choice choices, or where you're feeling yourself and having to look at those dynamics between you and other and where there could be imbalances. And again, this is something, if you would like some more personal guidance, then you can certainly request a personal card pull this week, and we'll take that into consideration here with these messages that are unfolding. All right, let's take a look now at our midweek blessing. All right, Wednesday's midweek blessing coming in with the beautiful Queen of Earth again. We've seen her a few times this month. And of course, I'm very intrigued to see the connection running here between both the Queen and King of Earth energy as well. So starting right here, midweek blessing, Queen of Earth. Now, she is in a field of tulips. And so it's speaking to where she's sitting in all her glory, because what began for her as pure determination grew into such beauty. So remember the message of the 9 of Earth over there, this self-made energy that we are steeped in. So there's this message here that says, in this field, you also see the frangipani tree that the 7 of Earth grew. So as we've been moving through the suit of Earth here, when the 7 of Earth came in and was in that state of patience and pause and looking at those seeds that were planted that maybe hadn't yet broken through the soil, and just having to take that pause to really acknowledge all the work that had already gone in, even though they weren't seeing the fruits of their labors yet. The Queen is now enjoying that, and she's taking all of that in here. And so all that can stand here the test of time, if it is grown from a solid foundation, but nothing comes easy. So again, it's not all tulips. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not all anything, right? Because we talked about these cycles that we move through as the progression card opened up for us with the Queen of the Sun here. We talked about these cycles that we move through and these different times and what is called for in each one. So the midweek blessing is saying practical and down to earth, You are the ultimate working mother. And we talked about this card. Every time it comes up, we're talking about this energy of what you are caring for in your life, mothering in your life. Even your most authentic self, even if you are tending to that precious little seedling of stepping into your power and speaking your truth and living out your authentic life, and you're not quite there yet, again, as we talk about facing it until we're making it, that she is here, positioned here to say, you have created a life for yourself, your family, and this is where you balance your responsibilities, home life, and work. You are independent within a dependent unit. You know the true value of family, financial stability, and your spiritual connection to the outer realms of the universe. Your energy is magnetic, drawing others into your light to gain from your inner wisdom, support, and unconditional love. Yeah, there's something that's just so, it's so empowering to take this and claim this, to say, yes, I am. Fill in the blank. I am, right? That's really what this Leo sun, this opportunity for us to step into that energy is all about. And you decide, even if it's not yet your reality, even if it's not yet in your garden, that doesn't mean that it isn't already on its way to you just because you can't see it. So act as if. Face it, right? Until you make it. Because it's already coming, and that's because you trust in this abundant universe, and you know that you are supported, and you are allowing yourself to be supported by standing in your own power and speaking and living through your truth. So it's big stuff, but this is a perfect time to shine, to step into that energy. So now we're going to see some more guidance from this King of Earth for Thursday, how we are growing in terms of some best practices, best guidance for continuing on this path. So let's take a look now at Thursday's energy. All right, new moon Thursday coming in here with this King of Earth. So, like I said, really remarkable that back to back we have the Queen and the King of Earth, which was, initiated by the Nine of Earth. So there's a lot of, again, this is bringing in earth energy. So we're talking about the material, the money, the safety, the security, the sense of, being very firmly supported and having that strong foundation that we're building off of. So with the new moon in Leo coming in this energy, the King of Earth says, through hard work and utilizing the power, strength, and determined mindsets of those who came before you, have created abundant wealth, not only on a physical level, but also a spiritual level. The tulips have changed from red to purple. For you too have changed. You cannot have gone through what you went through without paying the price of the slow earth energy. Hardship transmuted into strength deserves reward. So all I can see as I'm reading that is the violet dragon, because I'm feeling this, the tulips have gone from red to purple. And that's giving me from root chakra all the way up to the beautiful purples of our third eye, of the crown, the sense of ascension and moving not just from those base desires and from the ground floor, but all the way up. So I'm feeling this beautiful energy and transmutation coming in with the violet dragon, which is a master clearance and danger defense energy. So I'm just going to bring that in. I'm just feeling that energy to come in now here for also this color that we're being given through the cards with the red and the purple tulips. So the King of Earth is saying, true to your word, patient, grounded, and committed, you are respected by those around you. More often than not, whatever your intention to manifest is manifested and then turns to gold. There are no limitations in your world. You have learned that things take time to manifest, and you are in it for the long haul. Your dreams and aspirations are built on solid foundations, as is your personality. You have the power to create security and wealth. You are the ultimate business owner. You are a leader for those who seek to create wealth and fortune. You are highly intuitive with your mind in the cosmos and your fin planted into the earth. Exactly, right? Exactly. And, it just keeps coming with the colors, because same here, as above, so below. And, I know sometimes the beauty doesn't always come up here on camera for you to see literally that mirror reflection of the as above, so below, and this energy of anchoring into this firm foundation, but also being strong and supported then to grow and expand into the cosmos. So this is really, really, really beautiful how that's all coming together with this color energy as well. And again, I invite you to connect in whatever way speaks to you, because we also have the violet dragon coming in, and we're talking about, this aspect of choice and looking at our relationships and how they may be serving or not, what foundations they're built on, and how we are proceeding and taking. And one of the things that was mentioned here with the King of Earth is about patience, how much time it does take, because as we say, the pentacles are the slowest moving suit of the tarot. Air is quick, fire is quick, earth, not so much, and it's just this, so we're moving along, we're planting the seeds, we're tending to them. It could take a very long time before we start to see the proof of what's going on, but it doesn't mean that things aren't happening. Then we have the fact that, it takes the longest to manifest on the physical. We can be hit with an instant, idea or inspiration or a desire or a wish, or you do some, new moon ritual, or you plant some seeds of intention. And even again, think back to March with that blood moon eclipse and the energies that were coming in then, which you may or may not have seen come to fruition since then, even 4 months ago. That now, as we arrive here, we know that it takes time for all of that to come together, to coalesce, and to literally present itself, materialize itself in our awareness. So again, we're face it till we make it, because we know that we are taking these steps with intention, with integrity, and standing in our true selves and in our power, making progression and growth as we go. So big stuff coming in with these messages. We're going to move into now that growth card. I'm going to pull that in so we can talk a little bit about, with this new moon in Leo, stepping into this energy with the King of Earth, what our Queen of the Moon card has to bring through as well. All right, here is our Queen of the Moon Oracle card. And it's funny because I always have a thing with this card. If you saw the card pulls, when it came time to pull the card for the new moon in Leo, I started shuffling the deck and this card flew out. And I picked it up and I said, nah, not ready yet. Put it back in the deck and shuffled up. And guess what card we landed on after all? This card, growth. Now, the thing about this card, and I've shared this story before a couple times, that you may or may not remember, is this is the card that was the last piece that had led me to start Grow in the Flow. I pulled this card for myself personally way back in July of, it's coming up on 5 years, so I guess it had to be, it was 2020, on the floor of my bedroom where I was pulling cards for myself and had this mantra: be courageous and you will blossom. And I was inspired to create an anonymous Instagram page where I thought, I'm not comfortable sharing all my, interests and things that I'm doing over here from the floor of my bedroom with everybody on social media, but I'm going to create a page where I can sort of, express myself. And I did it, and this card is the thing that started it all. And then you flash forward a few years later as Grow in the Flow is growing. And I decided to start the Marco Polo Sharecast. And I had just initiated the pilot and discovered that at some point in my shuffling here by my desk, that card had flown out of the deck and fell in such a way that it got wedged in the frame of my desk drawer. And I happened to look down and see it right there. So it's crazy to me that every time this card comes around, it flies out, it falls out, it makes itself known. So that is, my personal sign to intuitively tell you, pay attention. This is big. This is go time for you. This is grow time for you. So let's take a look at this message, bringing in the frequency of the number 5. Growth. Be courageous. You will blossom, right? So now we have this energy of growth coming in, and we make this choice to reject stagnancy, to get unstuck, to take action. The choice to grow should be made. Expect growing pains when you're making huge choices in your life. Change is a natural part of life and cannot be pushed against forever. Change should have aim and purpose. Be courageous. You will blossom. It's crazy. Just like that, 5 years later. So, think of a willow tree. Willows often grow on the sandy banks of highly shiftable and changeable rivers, yet they reach huge sizes, successfully growing and holding fast to an unpredictable habitat. How do they do this? When you see a young willow on the banks for a long while, it just looks like a feeble stick. It may have a few branches and leaves, but at first the trunk will be fine and flexible rather than robust. What we don't see immediately is the root base. The willow spends a lot of time establishing a veritable root city under the surface. Anybody else getting goosebumps when we talk about what's going on under the surface that we can't see, that's taking a long time? These roots are strong and long and strong and very numerous, finding their way into many nooks and crannies, holding on to rocks and other established tree roots and anything that can help with their stability. These roots go off in all directions, thus securing their position just in case the earth begins to shift. Then and only then, once these root networks are established well enough, does the willow put its energy into further growth. The trunk begins to thicken and widen and harden and travel upwards to the sky. However, as they grow, the branches have little of the trunk's supportive thickness. They have instead the instruction that they must be flexible. Flexible means they can turn with the sun and survive, punishing winds that might threaten to topple the rest of the tree. All of this growth is done with purpose and a divine strategy. The waxing lunar cycle, which is the cycle that's associated with this card, calls for growth, but not growth without aim or purpose. When we understand our current position, accept it, and decide to change, we will naturally grow as people. We might experience some growing pains after all. Transformation of any kind is rarely completely easy and trouble-free. Having a strong intention of what the results of our growth will be helps with gaining the courage and resilience to move forward with our growth and into the eventual blossoming of our true self. It's like taking the words out of my mouth. Our true self. This is what is coming up for us now more than ever. It is time, right? So we're taking this time to establish this strong root system. And that includes a lot of things going on beneath the surface that may not be immediately apparent, right? And yet, we're facing it till we make it. We're taking the steps. We're making empowered choices that are aligned with our true self and with our wishes, our desires. So this is really powerful, and it's in a nest. You know, if you can see that nesting at the base, holding it there, you are held, you are supported. And if you saw that I shared this past week, the blog post, the metaphor from Metatron, and the video that I recorded, this is exactly what it was about. So we were ahead of the curve with bringing in these energies of, you know, to the true self and beyond, right? We're stripping away, we're shedding those old small selves, those parts that served. They played their role. And now we are surpassing that into the atmosphere. We're ascending. And as we're doing that, you know, we tuned in then on the video that I recorded with some card pulls. And with those card pulls, I'm sorry, this is like dog walk time, and Cooper is observing other dogs on walks he would like to be on. So, you know, I pulled some cards, and in those cards came a very similar message in the Five of Wands, actually, which talked about obstacles and challenges. And yet we were supported, and there was this energy of spirit that is holding us and anchoring us and ushering us as we're moving through. So this is really powerful. It's very consistent and affirmative of everything that we've been tuning into intuitively here, what our collective energy has been bringing here to our group. And I thank you for contributing to that and coming here, and for, you know, hopefully resonating with what's coming in, because this is really a very powerful and beautiful and very much needed message. It's time to step into your true self. Be courageous. You will blossom. I will definitely be sharing with you some flashbacks of this card from my archives as it has come up in the past, somewhere in here around our card pulls. But let's tune in now to our final card for the week. It has a lot to say. Let's get to it for Friday. All right. Friday is bringing in some really powerful and cumulative energy with the 10 of air, and 10, of course, representing endings and new beginnings, a completion of one cycle and the beginning of a new one. And we have so many different angles that this card can be tapped into, because, of course, yes, we're just coming to the end of Cancer season, the beginning of Leo season. We're embarking on one ending of one moon cycle and kicking off a new one with a new moon in Leo this week. But also in the wider, and again, we have these wheels within wheels, these cycles within cycles, you know, that all of the imagery and the symbolism that's all around us all the time showing us, right? We have all of these different aspects coming up. And I just want to zoom into this card first so you can really see there's a lot going on here that's churned up. So I'm going to get that positioned so you can really see this card as I'm sharing the message with you, because a 10 of air, a 10 of swords, does speak to endings, and sometimes they can be very difficult, harsh, you know, abrupt, cutting. And like I said, I do get a lot of collective energy from this card, and just the state of, especially for the earth and earth changes and things that we're moving through right now. And so looking at that from this, the highest available perspective to, you know, that's available to us, and, you know, holding the intention for all to be cleared and transmuted and ushered through into greater peace and equilibrium and balance throughout the planet and into the universe and beyond. So, you know, holding that intention, we dip into the messages of the 10 of air. It says, this painful situation has happened to help you. Yes, it feels painful, but pain is needed to transform. Without pain, you would not know to adjust your sails, to adjust your life. Feel the pain and create the changes needed. The worst is over. A traumatic, life-altering moment has emerged, allowing space and breath to create a new path. This is a time of letting go of the reins and allowing Source to take over. What is happening for you, not to you, and is needed for you to end what no longer serves you in your life. You will now be placed on a new path towards a new journey in your life. You may feel powerless in this, but by allowing yourself to feel through it all, you will have a greater understanding of what and why this is happening. Now I'm going to read the other side as well, because, you know, in all things, especially with the challenge, I'll zoom out so I can talk with my hands, in the challenge of the lovers that's being presented in choice and the as above, so below, and seeing this duality, we have both. And so we hold space for both. And so on the other side of this message, it says, you are prolonging the inevitable, making it harder on you to create the ending that is needed to enter the realm of ascension and transformation towards your highest self. Your fears of the pain that will occur when this situation ends will be healed by your own inner being and heart chakra. You do not yet see that all endings are actually presents in disguise. The only reason situations end is because the universe has something better in store for you. Seek light and let go of fear. Yeah, the other thing I was going to say that these remind me of are like splinters. I was thinking of like having to draw out a splinter or draw out something that has like impaled that can be very painful. And it doesn't even have to be a big sweeping event. As we know, just a tiny little splinter can cause great pain and discomfort and an inability to focus on anything else. So it's really not about how big or small the thing is or the feeling is that you're experiencing. It's about giving it, again, that time and space and attention and acknowledgement. And it needs to be extracted. You know, there's this energy of needing to get out and draw out these impurities and these toxicities from the body, from the planet, from everything. There's this great cleansing and clearing that's going on. So, I mean, this is a big message that's coming in with this. But it really just comes back to, you know, what is your role in all of this, which is, again, allowing yourself to stand up, to rise up, to shine, to put down those firm roots and stand in your power and speak your truth and be authentic and, you know, allow yourself to receive. And in just doing that, you're making a difference and you're creating that ripple effect into the world to help in whatever way you can as we are in this transformative time. So again, going to be different for everybody and just tapping into a whole lot of things at once and trying to pull through different strands of energy and messages that I'm getting right now. But if any one particular thing is speaking to you more, go with that. You know, as always with a collective reading, take what resonates, leave the rest. There's always someone else there to pick it up. I love to hear how it's showing up for you. And if there is something that's specifically speaking to you and you would like a personal card pull this week, please feel free to reach out and let me know. And I will tune in for a personal card pull for you. Also, once again, just wrapping things up, you are invited to come along for the new moon in Leo reading. It's a big one. You're definitely not going to want to miss an opportunity to tune into utilizing that energy for planting some seeds and some intentions and checking in there. So if you would like to join, I'll pop the link here for you and you can check that out or just reach out and I'll get you all squared away. So thank you guys so much for being here. And I hope to share, like I said, a couple little flashbacks and throwbacks and things that are coming up to bolster these messages as we move through the week. I'm sending you all much love, many blessings, and we'll talk soon.